United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to ask for, I'm sorry, could we just stand again for 1 second for a moment of silence for the lives lost and the folks that are sick for COVID-19. Thank you very much. So we'll begin with news of the schools. Turn it over to the superintendent.
Yes, maybe as you might know, summer school did officially close this last Friday. And Adam, might you have just a couple of words about that, please?
Yeah, I mean, I want to first of all commend the staff, the principal Rich King and Ralph Neglieri, the facilitator. It was our first time doing it, as the governor allowed us to offer summer school. We offered it in the virtual model. It was direct live instruction to our students, so our students had the ability to recover the credits they might not have achieved during the school year, but it was live with their current with their teachers. So you know, it was definitely challenging. It was good for us to go through it as we approach this this new year and these new unprecedented times. We saw some of the tech-related issues that we needed to deal with. We also did substantial outreach. We were dealing with obviously an at-risk population for our high school kids. So getting everybody online at the right time so they could recover credit, complete their assignments was definitely a challenge for a number of students in various situations. But I will tell you this: when you look at it from basically above and looking at the whole picture of it, it worked out very nicely. Again, that's with a lot of legwork, considering the amount of students that were in it. All the other models, when you're looking at the elementary model and you're looking at the middle school model, where we're dealing with a kind of different type of student, where we're doing a little more enrichment, catching kids up, an E&L program, it was definitely more seamless and less challenging.
Thank you, Adam.
Adam, I have a question. Did we do summer driver ed? No, we didn't do that, right?
No, we are not right now. This, as it stands, the governor through the DMV has allowed us to offer distance learning for driver's ed only, and that's for the theory class. Unfortunately, and for parents of teenagers, they can't do the drive-in virtually. So they have not even authorized that for the fall yet. In fact, we just got our certificate from the DMV from the spring session a week and a half ago. So I don't expect a decision on that in the next week or two, what it's going to look like in the fall. But right now, we are not permitted to enter cars as a school with kids. The question came up of kids practicing for their road test now that they have their certificates. We can't support that as a school district because we're not permitted. Kids are allowed to get private lessons on their own, but that cannot be through the school or any kind of manner in which it's connected to the school program.
Adam, can I ask another question there?
Yep.
So in the past, for kids to be able to get their license early, they had to take that theory class. So I just want to confirm what you're saying is that, do we know whether we're going to continue to offer the theory class online?
Yeah, I spoke to Jason this week. Right now, as it stands, we're planning on offering our theory class in the fall. Their bigger question is the driving piece.
And if kids are able to do driving elsewhere, are they still able to qualify for a license, or you still have to do a license? If they've taken the theory class, let's say they go to a local driving school to get the hours in.
That's a good question, and I don't have the answer to that. I will find that out.
Could you find that out? Because that may be, a model that at least works for some kids. Obviously not for everyone.
Yep. I'll ask.
It's a certain amount of hours in there.
And frankly, Adam, if we're doing it by Zoom, and we're able to offer Zoom, I'm just, don't anyone yell at me. If we're able to offer the Zoom free to kids, then maybe paying to have private drive time elsewhere, if that's available, won't be so difficult for kids, particularly if that would qualify them for their licenses.
Sort of all for nothing. I thought
Okay.
take a road test either. I don't think you can get a road test.
Yeah.
So-
All right, well, maybe it's all moot. You're right, JP. Maybe it's all moot.
So they'll let people sit in the car and take a road test, but you can't sit in the car.
Well, they have, people have,
Going-
they have all the backups from when they first started. I know Tina's.
Well, let me do that. So we're gonna DMV is doing road tests?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
You do have to be 18 if you don't take.
If you don't have driver's
You don't
ed.
have theory.
Even with the theory course, you have to have the full driver's ed to get your license
At
at 17.
Correct.
Yeah.
At 17.
Yeah.
And to take it over 17.
Otherwise
You can
it's
still
one
get your
year.
license at 18
Definitely.
with or without the, without.
Correct, correct.
With
So you have to have the theory
Yes.
part no matter what.
So we have to back to the exactly where, you know, how many people are in a car.
Just like commend the tech department. So they were able to help correct any connectivity problems we had with the internet, gave out some more Chromebooks, and really helped out some families. So
Great.
thank
Are
you.
are they gonna be okay with doing a tech test then? Have we?
They actually started,
started it,
yeah, from
okay.
your suggestions.
So
Yeah.
how does one contact the tech desk and like what are the hours
I'll
or?
check with that, and I think it's, yeah, I think.
Because that needs to really be publicized. 'Cause-
Rich, just so you know, I reviewed the whole request system with Luke today. We would have finished it, except he had to deal with some other things. But it is pretty extensive, and it does provide parents and students with a direct link to our tech department. We're just finalizing it now.
So is
Thank
there a
you.
link on the website?
Yes, definitely.
Oh, good.
Yeah. They had to do all the work here.
Well, they
From the
Tell them
college.
to call.
And summer school, was students recommended for summer school? Was it,
Yes,
yeah, so elementary, middle school, and high school?
correct.
Students were recommended for summer.
Elementary, middle, and students for credit recovery at high school were told. that they could
And
attend.
it was all online.
Yes, teachers were in school,
live instruction.
and it was live instruction. And it was a helpful model to what we're trying to implement, if we have to go that way.
We're getting better at it.
Much better.
Good.
Please view the, on the website, you'll see a model of a math lesson. It's an interesting model. You'll see exactly what happens in the classroom. Well done.
Anything?
I think we'll wait for news of the school because it's more, I think, the future. And we have principals on board
All right.
when we get
Do it
to
later.
whole business.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So Matt, I don't know if we have any callers. We have public comment for agenda items only at this time. I'll try to follow the format as best we can. Do we have any callers, Matt?
We do not have callers, JP.
Great, thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I make it.
I second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Then we'll move on to the superintendent's report and recommendations, beginning with item number 1. Recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Megan O'Connor is, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, appointed to a choral music teaching position within the music tenure area, who holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area for probation term to commence on September 3rd, 2020, and to expire as of September 2nd, 2024. Annual salary of $6,039. A motion?
I make a motion.
Second? Any discussion?
She's gonna work.
Middle school, correct. Because Melanie is moving up to the high school.
All in favor?
Um,
Any opposed? Number 2, recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Aaron, is on the recommendation of the superintendent of schools appointed to a secondary chemistry teaching position within the aforesaid tenure area, who holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area for probationary term to commence September 3rd, 2020, and to expire as of September 2nd, 2024, at the annual salary of $67,807. Have a motion?
I make it.
Any discussion?
No,
Replacing?
Just a replacement, yep.
I think she's the one who wanted to come. Yeah, sure. I think she wanted to be with us tonight, but couldn't.
Oh, no.
We kidding.
That's why
The name rang the bell. I'm like, all right, now I get it. Okay. Hopefully she's watching live. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Looking forward to your,
Yes, sir, and I hope you're here.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 3, recommend the board approve the following revised resolution. Resolve that Jonathan Nguyen, is that how you pronounce it? Nguyen?
Yes.
Okay, is upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools appointed to a secondary chemistry teaching position within the aforesaid tenure area, holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area for a probationary term to commence September 3rd, 2020, and to expire as of September 2nd, 2024, at the annual salary of $56,039. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
No, welcome.
Yeah, welcome. This is the next welcome of many tonight.
Right.
All in favor? Any opposed? Number 4, recommend the board approve the following revised resolution. Resolved that Denise Rowland is upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools appointed to a family and consumer science teacher position within the aforesaid tenure area, holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area for probation term from September 3rd, 2020, and expire as of September 2nd, 2023, at the annual salary of $102,495. Have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
A second.
Discussion?
Welcome aboard.
Yes.
Very pleased for
Yes. Now, when will we have our culinary arts?
Gotta go like kitchen first.
Going into middle school.
middle
right?
school, yes.
Okay.
And she is very excited to be part of the program because of the movement she sees in that whole
Great.
And we
program.
need people in that position.
Yeah.
When is that kitchen gonna be
We're
finished?
gonna talk about that shortly
Okay,
with the
good.
bids. Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 5, recommended the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Rachel Burns is upon the recommendation of superintendent of schools appointed to a secondary teacher teaching within the foreign language Spanish tenure area, holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid tenure area for probationary period to commence September 3rd, 2020, expire as of September 2nd, 2024, at the annual salary of $56,039. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Welcome aboard, and
Yes,
no
thank you.
relation to me, so,
That was gonna be one of my questions.
no. But
Anyway,
very happy, again, not only chemistry, but foreign language, LOTE are very difficult positions to find. So we're
Right.
pleased that we're able to get people on board.
congratulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Isabel Madison.
No, this month,
Did I skip 6?
Yeah.
Oh, I crossed out the wrong one. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Hampton Union Free School District, pursuant to Rule 14 of the Suffolk County Civil Service Commission, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, does hereby appoint Christopher Gregory to the position of maintenance mechanic 4 for a probationary period of 26 weeks, beginning August 5th, 2020, as to be paid at the annual base salary of $57,357. Can I have a motion?
I make it.
Second? Well, I'm just gonna say, that's a great, it's a great asset to this district to have,
Yes.
have Christine.
Now, he's been with us.
yes,
This is a
wow.
good-
right. And he was a mechanic too.
Okay.
And we applied because he actually did schooling on his own, and in the non-instructional contract, there's really no movement, horizontal movement for credits earned. He actually spent, I don't think he would mind me saying this, $10,000 of his own money to become HVAC certified.
Wow.
Because we're looking for a transition when, our director of facility leaves down the road, that we have somebody who's qualified. But not only that, but he's an electrician. His family comes from Sag Harbor, and I can't tell you just today, all the help he's given us.
Yeah, no, I've seen it every time you're in, spend any time.
Really jump on a lot.
Yes.
He's always around, and
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well
So
deserved.
he's well deserved, and I actually wish I could have bumped him up more, but civil service rules, I would have liked to have helped him recover the 10,000,
Yeah.
but we're only able to do a lateral move.
You will at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 7, recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Resolved that Isabel Madison is upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools appointed to a business consultant, business consultant. Such services are to be on an as-needed basis for the 2020-21 school year at the per diem rate of $1,067. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion. Happy that she's
Yeah.
able to be available for keys.
Yeah.
Yep. And we're working it out, so I think maybe next Wednesday she might be thinking.
Maybe come back next month.
Yeah, there was some, and especially helpful, Keith asked especially, there are some projects that Isabel started and Keith just needs some help
We need to
in.
transition.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
right, Steve, yeah.
I'm
But,
glad she's willing to do it.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm happy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 8, recommend that the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that Timothy Fromm be hereby is granted the leave of absence from his current position as in the administrative tenure area of assistant high school principal for a period commencing August 10th, 2020 through the remainder of the 2020-21 school year, commencing simultaneously with the appointment to assistant to the superintendent, correct?
Yes.
Assistant to the superintendent,
Yes.
and be hereby resolved that in compliance with the provisions of section 3012 of the education law, part 30.3 of the rules of the Board of Regents, and upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board does hereby appoint Timothy Fromm to the administrative position of assistant to the superintendent, who holds a valid New York State certification in the aforesaid area for a period commencing August 10th, 2020, and for the remainder of the 2020-2021 school year, as to be paid at the annual salary to be determined. Be it further resolved that the superintendent of schools is authorized to execute a contract between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Timothy Fromm on the finalization of contract agreement between the parties. Have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
Second. That's a
Discussion?
very specific purpose that you have in mind if you want to.
Yes, I would like, especially now in terms of our response to the COVID pandemic. There are so many questions that are coming at us that we really need someone laser focused on these issues. In terms of medical leave, in terms of requests if someone doesn't feel safe, in terms of coming to school. There are so many questions that we just need somebody that is able to develop policies and consistencies. Because if we make a decision for one individual, it's like dropping a stone in a pond. There's a ripple effect. And we have to make sure that we are as consistent, that we're consistent not only to SED laws, to FMLA laws, to all these various really particulars that we're in new ground now, and we really need this position. Tim has that type of mindset that we're going to be so blessed with having come aboard. Plus, if the plan goes, and we'll talk more about the reopening of schools, if we have only half of our students in the high school, it's a good time for that to happen. So we're not adding an administrator, we're just transferring an administrator for a year.
Yeah, I think that's
Central
important to
office.
to highlight that there's no addition. It's a 1 year, agreement.
Right.
In today's day, we need to at least do what we're doing. The district also has roughly 375 employees.
Yes,
Somewhere in that
exactly
neighborhood.
right.
So if you think about that and think about any company that doesn't have someone in that position, it's probably very unlikely.
Yeah.
Someone's doing it somewhere. And for the assistant superintendent and the superintendent to have to deal with that while COVID, while everything else is going on, there's just so many things that they have to deal with that I think now is the time to at least give it a try at something. that's
He will
important.
technically leave the high school vice principal
Yes, correct.
position for a year and move into district office as an assistant.
For a year.
And then presumably also we're gonna have less kids in the building, so
Right.
there won't be a lack at the,
No,
Right.
we're sensitive to the needs of the new high school principal, and we'll deal with that, as an on-needs
Okay.
basis. Adam, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, I think you said it all. I think it's I think it's long overdue, just in general with the number of employees we have. You couple that with the COVID things we're dealing with now and having a point person to deal with it. It's absolutely essential in the overall functioning. Again, what JP had said, we're just reassigning and we're also moving him. He will be, working 12 as a 12-month employee.
And thank you to him for stepping into the position, because it's uncharted waters for this district. So it's a big deal, and it's a year. We'll see how it goes, but thank you for giving it a try, and
Yeah, we're very lucky to have them and to have his knowledge.
And it reminds me of what should be said too, is that I did try with human resources in various ways. One year I tried another administrator, it didn't work out successfully. And we actually contracted with BOCES last year. We had a 0.2 position. But the fact that we really need someone who knows the teaching staff and the community. It's the bottom line, because you make decisions, it can be very bureaucratic type decisions that don't really, we're so unique. Our school district is so unique.
Precedent setting, there's a lot of things that you have to be careful of.
And I just really appreciate the board's support in this, because we know that communication piece is so important, and there has to be consistent communication. I mean,
can I just ask you one quick question? I support this 100%. And I think Tim is terrific, and I think this position is really essential. So I'll start with that. I just have a question about the actual language that we're approving, which is, so we're authorizing you to negotiate the agreement, and there's we've talked about this at executive committee. Do we see the agreement again? Do we vote on the agreement again before it?
We'll share that with you before I sign that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that I think just because it's sort of open-ended as it is in our resolution, and I think that would be, as I said, I very much support this position, but I think that we should revisit the contract just before it's finalized.
I just wanted to move this as quick as possible, because we're hopefully getting some word, and we'll talk about this later, about in the whole business for reopening schools, but we're hopefully going to get some word this coming Friday that will enable us to move forward.
Okay, so just before the contract is finally finalized, you'll revisit it with the board.
Yep.
Thank you. Favor? Aye. Any opposed? Number 9, recommended the board approve the contract agreement between the East Hampton Union Free School District and Carrie S. Stevens, secretary to the superintendent, retroactive to July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2024. I have a motion.
I make it.
Second. Congratulations, Carrie, and well deserved. Carrie is I don't think people understand what Carrie's job is. Until I came here, I didn't understand what Carrie's job is. And if you look at who put the vote together and overnight, it was Carrie. That alone, but her her institutional knowledge and dedication to the district is irreplaceable, and I think that's important to be said.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 10, resolve that the board approve the following resolution, to wit, be hereby resolved that the Board of Education accept a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Adam, I'm not going to pronounce the last name right, correct?
I could get it.
All right. Sagowski?
Yeah.
All right, wow, that's, I haven't seen it before.
Sagowski.
Okay. For the position of custodial worker 1, effective at the close of business on July 31st, 2020. Have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
Second.
Adam was always a great person.
And I would like to say with deep regret, because Adam unfortunately has to leave because of the pandemic situation we're in, and he didn't want to leave, and he's just been gracious and classy guy to the end.
Oh,
We wish him well. Wish him well.
Yes. I guess it's one of those things bittersweet sometimes, but
Yeah.
hopefully you have a great retirement. Anyway, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 11.
thank you, Ed.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much. Absolutely. Recommended that the board approve the following resolution. Be it hereby resolved that the Board of Education accept the letter of resignation for the purposes of retirement from Catherine Butts, her position as secondary English teacher, effective at the close of business day on August 31st, 2020. I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Congratulations to Catherine.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank
I was surprised to see that one.
Yeah, to see her
go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's another one related to COVID, quite honestly.
Yep.
She's
Yes.
Do we have
split
a sense
between
of how
Florida.
many more are coming?
No,
Or
Again,
will it be August 7th? We might-
I think, yes, I think when we know what the plan is and if we
Right,
are gonna
we'll
have
make your
in person, yes.
Yeah, because there's a new state incentive, isn't it?
It's supposedly in the governor's office
And the
now,
governor of new state incentive. So
Really?
They're probably will
Incentive
be.
for retirement,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
yes.
there's a new incentive from the state.
Well, that's good. That helped everybody. Okay, well, congratulations. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, thank you very much. Number 12, recommended the board approve the following amendment. Amended resolution, resolved that the Board of that the board approve the following appointments to teach an additional section of instruction effective September 9th, 2020 for the 2020-21 school year with compensation as follows. It begins with Kelly Doyle at $13,327 and goes down to Freeman Patelli, science teacher, $7,246. Have a motion?
I make motion.
I
Second? Discussion, I'm sure this will probably change as
Right.
classes change, we just don't know.
At this point, that's the master
Fluid.
schedule needs.
Yeah.
So, and if, that all changes if we don't have, if let's say half the kids don't come to school and we don't have extra sections, then this does not happen, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, let me say it this way. Yes and no. Meaning the no is the teacher's contract does restrict class loads for total students instructed. So it really depends on how each section is made and what teaching assignments are allocated. So basically, I think it's 130 something. I think they can have a max load of. So that's when we go to overages, to cover the extra classes out there. Can we look at that as the schedule goes? Yes. I mean, it definitely might change if we don't have kids at all, or if we end up instituting our current plan.
Well, what's the process for determining that, Adam?
So you have, let's say we need an extra Spanish at the district at some level, and if we don't have that teaching section, so we're not going to post for a position like a 0.2, which would be one teaching section, you're not going to get anybody. So we kind of then, contractually have to give it to, we have to not post it, but we ask the most senior teacher in the department in that certification area, and they have first dibs on teaching it if it fits into their schedule. So again, like for family and consumer science, thanks to the current schedule, our family and consumer science teachers are teaching one extra class. Both of them have one extra, so they're teaching 6 because we have that many kids scheduled and interested in family and consumer science at the high school, which is an amazing problem to have. And those kids are not in study halls now because they're actually in elective classes.
So again, when you assess what the course load and how many kids they're going to be,
It's a good change.
Yeah. So you're gonna put your course request, and then you look at the number of classes that the kids requested, and then we decide usually, at some point we, say, okay, we're not going to offer this, or we're not going to have a kid in there. But we've really erred on the side because of our staffing on offering these classes and not keeping kids from getting them. We really are very liberal in the way we offer classes. So, for example, if I have a finite number of chemistry classes I can offer, so they could come to a point where I can't offer an AP chemistry class for the kids. We've never said, no, let's not create another AP class for the kids. We create the additional section, usually by either reassigning within or offering an additional teaching section for a teacher.
okay.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 13, recommend the board approve the following appointments for the 2020-21 school year, beginning with John Marshall, pre-K assessment screening, and going down to SAT ACT testing coordinator, Timothy Braun. Can I have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
Second.
Any Any discussion?
Are they
Yeah.
doing screening for pre-K? How is that happening?
What-
Yes.
What do we
because
screen? How do we screen for pre-K?
the teachers never had a chance to develop. Actually, Beth, could you, John, the PK assessment training?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing. What was the question?
So for the pre-K assessment screening, we didn't, because the school had to end early. We didn't have a chance to get the pre-K kids properly placed into their kindergarten programs. So we if you remember, we stopped March 13th. So stopping March 13th, then the teachers in June would say, hey, these are the kids that go into this class.
Is it for the kids coming into pre-K or is it for the kids from pre-K to kindergarten?
That's
Kids coming into pre-K.
Okay.
We used to use that dial
Right.
3 or no, dial 4 or whatever it was,
Yes.
and they would,
Yeah.
so they can make the classes appropriate.
But I think Beth changed that. I think we have a more accurate.
Yeah, it's called the ESI, the Early Screening Inventory. It's a much more efficient test that gives us the data that we need. So it doesn't take as long to administer.
So how are we administering that this year?
Well, it all depends on what we're told we can do by the end of the week. So that it's a one-on-one test. So the kids would have to come in with their parents.
Is that going to be a requirement for pre-K?
It's not. So if people aren't comfortable doing it, we already started setting up the appointments. They don't have to come. It just helps us make more balanced classes.
Okay, we don't have any special ed for pre-K, do we? Beth?
No.
Those kids still go to like alternatives in Southampton or whatever, depending on the CSE recommendation.
So the idea of screening is to properly place them, not reject them or, we're not,
Right. No.
they don't have to pass it.
No. It's just an assessment to create balanced classes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. Not for Beth, though. I just want to raise, just since we're at that point of the agenda, I just want to raise the fact that I'd like to request that academic committee discuss our SAT and ACT offerings with Tim and James and Adam coming up. Because I do think that this year is a really complicated year with COVID. Some of the other local schools that our kids have gone to before are not permitting East Hampton kids to test there. A lot of other places, parents aren't traveling. It's going to be difficult, and I want to make sure that we have any kid who wants to test has the opportunity to test and then retest at East Hampton. And I do think that we'll have some extra money from other things, and I'd rather see us err on the side of giving too much opportunity for the kids to take tests than too little. I brought this up earlier. A lot of East Hampton kids have had trouble getting to tests. So Adam and James, I'd like to have that as an academic committee meeting coming up sooner rather than later.
I'll schedule it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Back to, so are we all, do we?
I don't think we do all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 14, recommend the board approve the second and final reading of the following new district policy for admittance into the dual language program, policy number 8281. Have a motion, motion for it, Karen?
Yeah.
Have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 15, recommend the board approve the following resolution. Resolve that that resolution number 15 of the superintendent's report and recommendations adopted on the July 7th, 2020 board meeting regarding the student trip to Ocean State Invitational, Rhode Island, has hereby is rescinded. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Second. Discussion?
I believe that was canceled, right?
Yeah, can't do it. Just to be clear,
Yeah.
that's sad, but
Try the first of many.
yeah,
Be
just
canceled or
the
not.
way it's coming.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 16, recommend the board approve approve the following resolution. Resolve that the position of the portion of number resolution 5 on the consent agenda adopted July 7th, 2020, board meeting regarding special education contract of David M. Korliski, MA, is be hereby rescinded. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second. Is there anything to discuss?
What was that?
There were monetary issues involved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 17, recommend the board approve the independent contractor services contract within the East Hampton Union School District and CMV Driving School, LLC, for the purpose of providing driver's education service to eligible East Hampton High School students in the amount of $460 per student for the 2020-21 school year, in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Also, driver's ed at some point?
All right, we were just talking about driver's ed. So is that $460 to do it via Zoom? Or is that including a driver's portion? Because I'm not going to support that if it's a Zoom $460.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole package.
Yeah, you'll do the driving portion when you can, right?
Yep.
So you're still
Yeah.
gonna.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yeah.
What's that? I'm sorry.
So if we don't have, my question is, if they don't drive, can we offer it for less money?
I don't, I,
That would be up to the
Contract,
company.
right? With the
Yeah.
contract.
Yeah.
Can't either.
I mean, I just think it's a lot of money for a lot of families this year. So I want to discuss that. If it's just going to be a Zoom classroom, I don't think kids should be paying $460 for it. So that's how I feel.
I think in that case, you're right, but I think parents have the choice of just not taking it, right?
No, I think we should. I think we should ask that question before we vote on this. I think it's crazy to ask kids to pay $460 for.
This is a con.
Yeah, this is, Jackie, this is based on, it's either a 4 or 5 year bid that we've already approved.
All right.
And the state requires an annual contract, which we just renew annually.
Okay.
This has already been approved like 4 or 5 years ago.
No, I get that, but I'm just saying because this year is the first year that we're not having true driver's ed if we're just Zooming. That's all I'm saying. Maybe we won't Zoom.
Yeah, you just don't sign up if you don't want it. You just don't. I mean, you can take a 5-hour theory course for less.
And if
Somewhere
they
else.
decide to offer different things.
Right.
that's their-
Yeah, that's up to them.
I mean, it is an outside company. It's up to them what they want to
Right.
offer. And
Right. I mean, we had a vote. I mean, do you want to be opposed, Jackie? Yeah, that's fine. 'Cause I think that's what you were doing before. I couldn't quite hear you. So
I'm thinking. Right. I don't want to hold up the vote, but I'm just not comfortable charging kids for $460 for a Zoom class. That's all.
opposed sometimes. Yeah.
Right. What you can, I mean, if I'm the only one that's concerned about it, I'm just on record as saying I have concerns about $460 for a Zoom class.
I got you. I mean, suppose the parent signs up for it, then they got to allow the kid to drive.
At some
They won't
point.
allow the kid to drive,
At some point.
they don't pay it.
Well, no, you pay it up front, and then
But
they're gonna let you
at
drive
some
later.
point, what if they can't do it all the year, they're gonna get their money back, I have to ask that too, I mean, that would.
I just think you just don't sign up. I think that's my personal opinion. You know, listen. I
And
think
have we had any conversations since COVID with this company to ask about it? Adam, is that you raising your hand?
this is the only company
Yeah.
we have. And
Yeah, we could continue that discussion. I was just speaking to one of them a few seconds ago, getting some information. So I think we could continue that conversation regarding where we go with this, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, it's an existing contract, but there's obviously a lot of concern, and working with them is very easy. So I think that might be something we subsequently discuss when we have a little more information from the governor and the DMV.
Okay.
It is a contract, and it's also gonna be a certified teacher that teaches the theory portion.
So
So we've been in this corner a million times, and sort of is what it is.
we're fortunate that we have 2 certified
Yeah.
drivers and teachers on staff that are willing to do this. This would not be available to parents if we didn't have that pool to draw from. So
And it's your choice. I agree, it's a lot of money and you can say no. We've had that conversation too. Because it's actually
You can
more,
take the theory class
it's
at
actually-
EMD, but they don't offer it very often, right?
right, well, there's other
Yeah, I don't
companies I think
think-
you can do the theory with as well.
I don't.
And the
think you have to
460, that's not the total, it's like 650 to take it, right? Remember, the
You
460
get
is
a
just
year
their
bonus.
Right.
That's what you pay
portion.
for.
Their portion,
A year of
right.
early license.
If I'm a parent, I am paying $460.
No, you're paying like 650.
650.
650.
This is what the district
Okay, and that allows me to take the theory course
and the driving
And
course.
and the driving.
But
But we don't know if we're gonna be allowed to drive,
we just don't know if we can drive.
right? The decision's not in the driving school's
As Adam
That's
said,
the government.
power or
It's-
ours.
yes, the teachers are very flexible and there are some kids that couldn't drive from the spring term.
Yeah.
And they're willing to set up schedules in the
Mhm.
fall if they're allowed to drive.
Right.
So they're trying to work with kids. They're trying to
Right.
get the kids the
Yeah.
earlier license at 17, but we're being
And
restricted by the
the
state.
bigger issue is, it's a necessity here in our community. We don't have public transportation where you can get around. If you're 17, you're dying to drive so you can get to your sports, if they have sports, or your after school, or your job, or whatever you're doing. It's more important that we have it as offered, in my opinion, because if you can't drive, you're in trouble. So just something to think about. Anyway, so we're all in favor, we're all in favor or not?
Well,
I am.
Jackie, are you opposing?
I'm just going to abstain for more information.
Okay.
Number 18, recommended the board approve the consulting agreement between the East Hampton Unit Free School District and Karen Hostetler in the amount of $3,167 as the high school musical accompanist for the 2020-21 East Hampton High School Spring Musical in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the agreement. I have a motion.
I make it.
Second,
Okay.
discussion?
What if it doesn't
If-
happen?
well,
But we
they don't
have
pay it,
it.
right?
Then we rescind. Yeah, we'll have to rescind the recommendation.
And again, we don't know
We don't
who's
know.
making that decision. Like, if they tell us that we're open, are we allowed to?
You have to see where we are.
Well,
No, but I'm
that's,
just saying, like,
that's a
you know,
whole
it's-
restrictive thing in terms of
Right.
musicals. Right now, we know kids have to be 12 feet apart
right,
for that type of thing.
so how do you do
It
that?
might not be possible,
Right,
It's not
Years
like-
ago, we might have a back seat.
right?
Yeah, but it starts in December, right?
That's why I'm
That's
very
the problem.
thankful that Tim
Very-
Prom is being appointed.
That's exactly right. So all in
So-
favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 19, recommended the board approve the consultant services contract between the East Hampton Unified School District and iTutor.com Incorporated for the purpose of providing student instructional support on an as-needed basis at the hourly rate of $55 per individual session, the hourly rate of $110 per group session, and the other indicated hourly services as for the price sheet attached to the said contract for the 2020-21 school year in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Have a motion?
I make it.
Second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 20, recommended the board approve the proposal from Lit Life Incorporated dated July 15th, 2020, in the amount of $9,750 for the purpose of providing staff professional development literacy training at the elementary school for the 2020-21 school year in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in said agreement. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Number 21, recommends the board approve the following resolution. Tax and participation note is resolution of the East Hampton Union Free School District, New York, adopted August 4th, 2020, authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $18 million. Tax and participation notes in anticipation of the receipt of taxes to be levied for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021.
TJ, you're gonna have to read all that?
I'm not going to read all of them.
Good.
But we are gonna have to take a vote.
Roll call vote. So we're going to go down to the end.
Okay, yes.
We all know what the tax anticipation note is. Anyone wants to look it up online can certainly read it. Can I have a motion?
I make it.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right, do we need to do a roll call vote?
This allows us to borrow money until we get our taxes.
Because the way taxes are collected is, we're
Yeah,
behind,
okay.
we're behind. We're taking money to borrow, which we've done every year. And I don't know, Keith can probably speak to what our interest rate is. It's been around 1%, I want to say.
Very good, good. We got a good rating.
We get a rating, AAA, so we get a good rate. But nevertheless, we have to borrow money because we can't function
The
without
town,
it.
the town doesn't collect their money, so.
Right.
Right.
It's just the way the system works.
Another thing superintendents have been fighting for
Yeah.
Yeah.
many,
And
many
it costs the
years.
district a lot of money, even at
It's
1%.
ridiculous.
It's a
It's
lot
a
of money.
waste of taxpayer money and it's mandated and that's an easy fix for them to do.
Easy fix.
They don't.
Bigger fish to fry, I suppose. Anyway, so roll call vote. I'll turn it to the secretary.
Ms. Lowy?
Aye.
Aye. Sarah?
John?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Number 22. Recommended that the board approve the following bids for the 2020-21 school year. It begins with the athletic lining of the fields, and it ends with a district-wide security. Can I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Wait.
Second?
Second.
Just discussion, I just have one quick thing. Do you have something, John? Go ahead. I don't want to.
Well, the irrigation is by gates. In other words, Refuge Mule, we have two, National Waste and Mickey's, right? Am I right there? I'm not reading it wrong.
Yeah.
But the irrigation is by Gates site work and landscaping, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I guess Mickey's, you're
Yeah,
right.
Mickey's is,
Yeah,
yeah.
it does. That
Mickey's
was my
very
fault.
I don't want Mickey's watering us.
I think he can do it though. There's no reason for that.
just open a landscape
Oh, I should-
He does, yeah,
Yeah.
Mickey's landscape. Yeah, he's good. He can probably do it. I don't think he knows he's gonna do it, but. The other question is climate protection services. Is that what we're using now? That's for the
No.
district-wide security?
no.
So we have a new security company?
Correct.
All right,
How was that?
uh,
Yeah.
We did Arrow, right?
It'll be, yeah,
we're okay?
it's okay. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Have we started
Yeah,
to
we're
use
very
them yet?
picky, you know.
No.
No? Okay. All right. So you promise they're gonna be good, Rich?
That's my life story, I guess.
All right.
Any idea how often you have to pump our cesspools? Usually you have to pump your cesspools, but they're not out there.
That's a tough one. I don't know that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if one overflows, you gotta get
Yeah,
out.
yeah, be aware.
And we have a contract. Yeah. There's coverage.
And Kentucky Fish is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Number 23, recommended the board approve the SED number regarding the high school commercial kitchen lab as follows. This is the bids. Contract number 1 down to contract number 4 for the electrical. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? This is for the new,
We're not accepting the old number one right now.
correct.
It's not price raffle. right?
And yet the way we're going to accept it the way it's written.
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we have the bids? Do we have an update on permit, MPD?
We're going to, we're trying to move ahead. Keith, is there a meeting tomorrow?
Mike, we don't, no, Mike, we don't. We're pushing for Thursday because what happened here, we got pushed back a day, so we're supposed to be Wednesday, now we're gonna have it.
Okay.
With all the,
So what we're
Is that
hoping,
facilities or you're just meeting with him?
just meeting with him and the contract.
We probably have a facilities meeting before long.
We
Yes.
do need
Yes.
to update.
And
There's a lot
I'd like
going
that one not to be,
Yeah.
still need that.
so we'll do
Yeah, I
that.
agree in person. would
Maybe
be
we'll
nice.
do that the following week too.
Yeah, see what Mike's available for.
Because by then
Mike
you're gonna
could be
update us.
Zoom, anybody could be Zoom, but I like the idea of.
I do too. And if somebody wants to Zoom, they can, but I think if you want to be in person, you should be able to be in person.
Mike is
Because then
actually, yeah, he's gonna try, maybe I don't know if we're gonna have time, but he's
But
coming.
I mean, because I'd like to then update on the bus garage, I'd like to
Yeah.
know where we are with
Yeah.
everything.
How about the
And the
turf field,
solar.
where are we at?
They're gonna start sowing the
Grass.
grass on top soon.
Good.
Everything has been laid there.
SEW, right? Did I get a C?
No,
No.
SEW.
you're right, it's not right.
Sue.
No, that's okay. And have
Very
people,
big,
have
John.
people been breaking in there and?
No,
or
I think we've been
everyone's
much better.
staying
Yeah.
off?
So we have a big sign again. We've been,
So I think we should make sure we have our security here. I know
Yes.
Rich and I had a conversation about it. Want the whole board, I mean, I think we need, with what's going on, our properties are being used a lot, which is fantastic. as long as it's being used the way it's supposed to be. There was a time when, in my opinion, there was a little too many people here. Some of the varsity fields, people are playing on them. They're not supposed to be there. And I think we need somebody just to keep an eye on that. So this is going to be, I guess, Keith, do you deal with the security company? You deal with it? Okay. So so you know kind of what we're looking for. This has been a years-long discussion. And, I think it's very important that we continue what we had, because some of the people we had were real good and some of them were okay. But it's important that we are looking after our fields, know who's on them, have permits in place for people that are here. And it's for kids. It's not for adults. It's for kids. I don't care if adults want to come and walk the track. That's fine once it's repaired. We had some people be pretty difficult about not especially during the pandemic. Listen, if we don't have kids in school, you have to really look at everything that we're doing very carefully. We don't want to be part of the problem. And I think that, one or two people walking on the track at this point, it's not a problem. But if there was a time, it was closed and people didn't like that, but it's just the way it has to be.
Do we still have a tennis court?
No, because the doubles have been approved. So they can play. I mean, I think the tennis court is still a problem, but the back to the old problem and not the new problem.
Is it overcrowded?
I haven't been up. Look, my main issue is
Signs up to sign up.
yeah. Well, that was my issue at the time. It's also my issue that we have tennis pros up there making money off of our. I don't like that, and it's always been a problem. I don't know how we rectify that without shutting it down, which I don't really want to do that either. But that's a whole other. We're having that conversation another day. I beat that horse enough, so I'll leave it alone.
Thank you.
Glad you look at it.
Yes, it is. But the problem with it is proving it's the problem. Who's checking them? Who's checking them? I think we should, but that's just to me, to make money over public property is just wrong.
It is.
You're right. That's an ethical moral thing, I guess, which we have no control over that. So move on to old business. I'll turn it over to you, Rich.
Yes, continued discussion regarding the reopening of schools. So we were hoping this last Monday that we would have received more positive direction from the governor, but that did not happen. In fact, quite frankly, I think he put us into a bit of a tailspin, because one of the requirements, he said, was that schools should be responsible for testing. I don't know how that's possible. That was never part of the DOH document, not part of the SED document. So we're kind of like, I'm not really sure where the governor's going with this. And quite frankly, I think it's becoming kind of like a political football at this point. And I'm not happy about it, because in terms of our parent survey, and I think we've really done an outreach piece as much as possible. I think there's a lot of anxiety and discomfort, and we certainly have a model for that. If parents do not want to send their children to school, they will receive as best an education as we can provide with the virtual learning model. But I think a lot of parents really want to have their kids in school, but I did not get a good vibe from the governor this last week. If maybe Adam, just to continue the conversation, and then we'll get some news from the schools, from the principals that are here.
But we don't have a final answer until August 7th, right?
Supposedly August 7th, we can get a final. So we don't, literally,
yeah.
we
Subject
don't
to
know.
change.
He sort of said a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So what are you thinking, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, I think a few things. I agree with everything Rich said. Rich and I both listened to the governor yesterday, and it was kind of what I gleaned out of the whole conversation too. I thought it was a very different tone. I also thought there should have been an answer. I thought he was ready to give the answer. That's what the announcement was, but that obviously wasn't the case. A few things that stemmed or came from our previous presentations by the principals. I just wanted to stress to the community, there's definitely a lot of fluidity to what's going on now. We've been very selective in planning our instructional program, but a lot of questions had come up. You heard them during the last meeting regarding tested. If somebody's tested and they're positive, what to do. I just want to reassure the community. We obviously are looking at all of that. We are in constant contact with Dr. Hellman and talking to Harriet all the time regarding this. I spoke to her a little bit yesterday. I just want to let everybody know those things will all be dialed down once we know definitively on what the governor's going to do. As Rich discussed regarding testing, One of the things, I brought up to Rich yesterday morning, as we have continued our conversation with Southampton Hospital on testing our students, in addition to our staff. Our staff are already set. So if something happens, we can immediately send our staff over. Southampton Hospital would be more than happy, I get the sense, to put a testing site on our property. The only concern with that is that it would not only just be open to our students, it would be open to the community. I talked to Rich about this early before the governor spoke and said, yeah, I don't think the board would go for that. But if that's going to be something that's part of the plan, I just want the board to know that we do have the necessary commitment and articulation with the hospital regarding setting up a satellite testing site as a possibility at one of our properties. I don't know what the real answer to that is right now, because the governors continually change kind of the rules at halftime.
Can I ask a question, Adam?
Yep.
And again, this is all so fluid and changing at all times.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of the colleges, I'm sending my own daughter back to college, sadly, next week. I know a lot of colleges are requiring that you have a test before you get there or right when you get there. They're also requiring that you have an app that you track your temperature every day, and that's reported. So these apps are all around. So I guess I have two questions. To me, the question is, we've done before, like I just saw Joe send something around about sports physicals. The question is whether or not we consider having a test before the first day of school. I mean, the thing about it is it's sort of irrelevant unless it happens like that first day. I'm sort of just talking it out loud to see whether or not we've thought about that. Whether or not you do require a test before the first day of school. Is that feasible? Is that even practical? Can you get, does that matter if the next day they get infected? Have we taught, should we have that app where you take your temperature in the morning and report it? Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, all great questions. We've talked about the app. We're going to have multiple levels of screening at all of the schools. As Rich said in the past, we are definitely looking to enhance our partnership with the community, and what we're asking parents to do by not sending sick children to school if their temperature is in a certain threshold. So we're still talking about the screening questionnaire that we're having our staff complete. There will also be additional temperature screening as you enter. When we get to doing, like what you brought up about full-blown testing beforehand, I mean, it's something that, I mean, 2 days ago, I would say, nope, why would we do that? That was not part of the definitive plan that the governor wanted. All of a sudden now, it's kind of thrown back like, wait, are we now supposed to do that? So, I mean, I think we're in a place where we have a relationship with the hospital that if that's something that, a week or two we decide we might need to do, it might be something we need to do. That was not recommended. That was, of testing all the students and staff. But again, it's like you said, it's so fluid. And, after yesterday hearing what he said, I was kind of thrown for a loop, just the same as Rich.
Adam, can I say something?
Yep.
Taking your temperature can be quick. Testing for COVID, nothing is quick.
No.
The quick one doesn't work.
Correct.
So for us to have to every day test every one of our kids is impossible.
Yeah, no, that's not what. That's not possible. I'm just wondering if at the beginning of school. Yeah.
One test.
Before school starts.
Everybody has to be vaccinated. Everybody has to get a test.
Yeah.
But then,
I don't think that does a lot. I don't think that does a lot.
to another
No, but
state.
that's what he's saying. Bring it back in. It's not every day. He's not saying test every day.
You might have.
Yeah, but all it proves when you test it is right then and there, you don't have it.
I know that.
Right. I was just bringing it up in response to what Adam said about, and Rich said about the governor and the testing.
I brought it up earlier too. It was just a thought,
That's a
all
conversation.
college kids, they have to be tested before they go back, right?
They're all being tested before they go back. I've also seen a model which actually is I think kind of interesting and seems to be one of the more practicable models, which is you do like community pool, where you're not caring so much about like every single kid, but you do a community pool, and if it shows up within cohorts, then you do broader individual testing. I'm not describing it right. Someone probably smarter than me. James is shaking his head, so he knows what I'm talking about.
That makes sense, but
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The idea is you're seeing, I've heard of this a couple of times where you're basically taking a group. I think you described it well, actually, where you're taking a group and you're seeing if you just test randomly, if any of those kids kind of pop up, if it's in that pool of kids, and you hit it just on the head. If you find that it is, then you kind of delve a little deeper in terms of the testing of kids. I don't know, or at least I haven't heard of that done anywhere other than in colleges, because I think the concept there was more of like within the dorm rooms kind of a deal. But I mean, anything's possible. The governor definitely threw us for a little bit of a curveball, to say the least. For my 2 cents, I mean, the one upside about having testing, at the school is it would allow us to contact trace quicker, and theoretically could possibly reduce us having to close the school down, when it happened. I mean, that's the upside of it. I mean, having lots of people coming to the place would, that's definitely a downside. But it's one of those things. The governor threw a curveball.
The lines for the drive-throughs, where are we putting all those people? If we have 1,000 cars on Long Lane waiting for a test, I mean, that's what's happening. So
but here's a thought.
why can't we send our kids to Southampton?
We're doing it at Dreesen's. They have a drive-through parking lot.
What about this? If you talk about testing groups, what if we opened one of our facilities, like say at one of the bus loops or something on a weekend, to do a group random sample and just start there and work with the hospital and say, listen, use the high school loop on Saturday, first Saturday of the month, we're going to try and see what happens. That might be a thought.
Yeah.
Then if the public comes, it doesn't matter. I don't know, just a.
Why don't I reach out to Robert Ross at Southampton, maybe set up a Zoom meeting with him, and let's talk about what they're interested in doing, what they can do, what they can't do. I'm sure he'd be more than willing to do that for us.
I mean, Southampton's very reasonable.
Which are out of the way. Why
That
aren't
too.
they at Panago Fields anymore? I mean, that would be
They
make
are,
sense.
aren't they?
To do one day a week.
They
basis.
posted a month or two
They
ago.
were, yeah,
that would be a show.
Now, they were gonna open one in Montauk. Did they open
No,
it?
yeah,
Oh.
Montauk is
But
doing
they're
it.
gonna close Montauk soon.
Yeah, and the thing is, we don't have a lot of cases.
I
That's the
got
good
tested
news.
on Montauk.
We don't have a lot of, we don't have a lot of cases.
And
It's
there's
good.
no way that we can have a testing center just for our school community because of our
Well, we probably
security
could if we
issues
were,
also?
if we were willing to pay for it, we probably could, so, and had a lab to process it. If we said to Southampton, if you set up something for our kids and we'll pay you, I'm sure they'll do it. Maybe that's something we should look at
Well,
too.
it seems like that might be what the governor is doing.
He may be, well, he sounds a lot of things,
He's gonna give us a rebate.
Yeah, no, he's gonna cut your funding.
So by taking money away from us.
He cut your funding and then, make sure, he gets no money. He's not gonna pay for anything. He gets no money.
If we have somebody in our cohort that tests positive, I think the school has an obligation to pay to have everybody in that cohort tested. But to daily say to our whole school population, you're coming in daily, you gotta get tested. Or
No,
Nobody's saying that.
No, I don't think daily testing.
Saying
we are
daily.
doing temperatures daily, though, right?
We're
We're
doing
doing
temperature
temperatures.
daily, but not
Temperatures
testing
All right,
daily.
now, the other decision would be, do we require any student coming to us at the start of the school year to get tested? Do we require that?
No,
That was my question.
I don't see how you can do that.
I don't think we can do it, but that's what we've been talking about.
Well, I think we
When we
should
do that.
move on
We can
to
urge, we can
another
urge
conversation
parents.
for the moment, but, Adam, maybe just explore that with Robert, and I'm happy to be part of the conversation. I know Robert really well. They're very easy to work with. The hospital, listen, the president of the hospital lives in our town. So, I mean, we're very fortunate on a lot of levels there, but, it's also going to be there's going to be limitations of what they can do, but maybe we kick the idea around and take all the districts and find a spot to rent, to have a place, because it's for our students and everyone. I don't know. There could be an answer. I don't know if it'll be worth it, but I think we need to explore it and let's look at it.
I mean, it seems like in some way, shape, or form, testing, it's not unreasonable to have some testing as part of our regimen, as part of our toolkit here. So I think that it makes sense for Adam to go talk to the hospital about it.
Just set up the parameters of doing it, where and when.
Yeah.
And just,
The healthcare center would make sense. Why aren't they putting something at the healthcare
Because
center?
they're not a hospital facility either. So,
Is it right now, let's ask, if we're allowed to do a hybrid, or even at 6 through 12, we're allowed to do that. And our elementary school is going to go full-time,
We don't know.
we want a commitment from the parents, right? And what kind of a commitment do we want? If they opt not to come,
Yeah.
they,
They can opt not to come.
for 5 weeks, we're asking
Correct.
for 5 weeks.
Yes.
We're considering that.
We're considering.
All right.
I think this comes from a state level and from a local level. The most important thing here is parents need to have choice. And I don't know, I mean, we don't even know if the governor's gonna allow us to say to everyone, we have distance learning. We don't know that. He hasn't said yet. But I gotta be honest with you, I'm of the theory, hey, listen, I think he needs to have pressure in order to say, listen, that's gonna be okay across the state. It has to be. You can't make someone come into school. You can't make someone not come to school. I think both options have to be there and it has to be very carefully thought out. I think if you offer the option to be at home, it'll allow the schools to spread out a little bit. I think you'll have some staff that will be able to come in. There's gonna be some that's at risk, but there's gonna be ways that we can find out a place to put people. But what you gotta be careful of, and I think that the message that came from yesterday was that he may close school altogether. And I gotta tell you, that's scary. On a lot of levels, it's scary because here's the thing. What happens to our staff? Because no one's talked about that elephant yet, but it's coming that there's many people that won't be needed. And we paid them last year. We did, because we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know if we were coming back. We were like strung along. And we paid them. We did the right thing. But you can't do that going forward for a full year or even a full semester. How do you furlough people? I don't want to go down that road. But at the same time, if we have to, because we're closed, financially and being responsible to our taxpayers, we're going to have to do that. And that's something that needs to be talked about. And I think a lot of people are putting pressure on the state to keep things closed, thinking that, maybe you may stay home and you might get paid. Guess what? I think you might get one, but you're not going to get the other. Because that's my opinion. And I don't know. I don't really want that to be our scenario.
Well, schools aren't open, he's cutting back
He's already cutting our funding regardless. But 30% getting cut right off the top. And listen, if businesses aren't open and people aren't buying things, no one's paying sales tax, guess what? There's no money. Well, you can't be surprised by that. So it's reality. It's reality.
In terms of reopening of schools, again, we're waiting until August. August 7th feels like October. James or Beth, anything else you want to add to the mix? I know we're kind of in a waiting pattern, but
No, I mean, I think we've kind of touched everything. We talked about a lot. Last time around, there really isn't anything changing. We're just trying to get the plan, in action. And as they say, the devil's in the details. Just working out the details and just kind of waiting to see what direction or what spin the governor throws at us. But otherwise, everything is as we've discussed before. If anyone has any questions, I have no problem answering.
Anybody wants to ask any questions?
Beth, anything?
Yeah, I just agree with everything that James is saying. We're in this holding pattern. Russell and I continue to flesh out details of plans that may never come to fruition, but at least we have some idea of how we're moving forward. I know a lot of families are anxious to know what the elementary school is going to look like, and again, we're considering all the things that people are recommending and sharing with us, but it doesn't make sense to put out a plan when we don't know if we can put out a plan. So that's kind of where we are.
Thank you, Ben.
Well, just imagine that you're someone who is now sitting at home and your extra unemployment ended and you're waiting for the kids to go back to school so that you can go back to work and you do not have an answer and your life is on hold. And now you may not be able to go back to work at all. You can pull the rug out,
Yeah, and that goes for everywhere. That goes for teachers.
Everyone.
That goes for teachers that don't live in our district, that are working off a different model in a different district.
Right.
And listen, the truth is that everyone has to deal with that. I mean, that's just, it's awful.
I like our hybrid plan. I like the fact that our elementary kids, pre-K through 5, we're going to attempt to bring them in every day, and yet a parent has an option of not doing that.
Correct.
Provided that this new governor goes along with that. It has to be that.
And I hope we can do it. And I think we're ready to do it
We are.
as best we can.
We are.
Can I ask a question? Just because I really value the Facebook group, East Hampton Parents Connect. It's a really good way to answer and ask questions often with the community. And someone was asking questions about the middle school. I don't know, Charlie's not here to answer it, but maybe someone else can answer it. There was some confusion about the middle school schedule. Someone was asking about whether or not he was breaking it up into 5 cohorts once a day. I was under the impression, or rather once a week, I was under the impression that he was following the same pattern as the high school, which is 2 days. I just want to confirm that, since that question was asked to both Christina and myself and everyone else.
Yep, it is confirmed.
Yeah, last we spoke, that's where we left off. Actually, me and him kind of blended our existing ideas together, which is how we landed, on the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday cohort. So last we spoke, that's where he was at. I know he did have an original idea that he was toying around with the different houses, but I think we're on the same page.
Okay, because there was confusion among parents on that. So if we could just confirm that, that's what's, obviously everything is so in flux with the governor's plan that whatever's confirmed today may not be what happens next week, but I think it would be helpful to just clarify that, because people are confused.
Yeah. Jackie, that's confirmed. They're going to mimic their models. The 6 through 12 model will mimic each other exactly. Charlie will have to divide up his grade levels just like James, which is not the simplest thing and requires work, because you want to make sure you're getting your classes balanced the right way. You can't just have 6th grade in, but their model, the model will mimic each other exactly. And I give them both credit, because sitting in James's seat, I didn't like to compromise, but he definitely compromised, and so did Charlie. So, but the models are exactly the same.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Anything else on the opening? We can't really talk about much until we get more guidance. That's some of the confusion that's out there. We're waiting. We submitted our plans, and he can say, I don't like any of them. He can say, I love them. But we don't know. So.
If he's reading them.
Right, yeah.
Do we have any questions from outside?
Yeah, Matt, do we have any callers?
We do not have callers, JP.
Thank you very much. And I know Rich was going to talk a bit about the election.
Yes, November 3rd. So the good news is that elementary school is not part of the polling place this November 3rd. So that's a good piece. But they are fully expecting to poll in the district office.
Which is better than what we've had.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but it's better than we had.
We have all the security in place.
Yeah.
Are we in school that day?
No.
Okay, that's the other good.
No staff. No.
Which is
no
only in this one building.
Correct.
Right where we have our election.
Right.
So, okay.
That's fine.
We have a long line out on the street. We should just think about that.
Probably, but maybe we'll have absentee ballot.
That's their problem. Student enrollment update. I was going to give more of as we usually do in August, just the building by building update, but we couldn't because of our flood. I guess we should talk a little bit about that too.
Yeah.
That there was a major flood. Our central office, district office is we have to move out and renovate that thing. If you kind of think along the lines of Hurricane Sandy, when you had to remove everything from whatever rooms were affected, we're doing that now. We should be up and running fairly soon. So if people do call district office, have a little patience, please. Over the next few days, we're trying to set up offices again. But so I wasn't able to get those numbers yet because we were kind of down to that. Student enrollment, though, in terms of new folks coming into district, it's still only at 28. Grew a little bit at 28. Again, I think most people are waiting until the announcement is given by the governor's office. There were close to 100 inquiries. I don't think we're quite as dramatic as other places. I know I hear stories that Ross School is a tremendous increase there. There's another school opening up, Avenue School. So I think a lot of folks that are new to being a full-time resident here, 12-month resident, might be sending kids there. So still in flux.
Does that 28, does that 28 factor in any tuition students from Montauk or any of the center?
No, it's
It doesn't.
East
So this
Hampton.
is East Hampton.
East Hampton.
So we might get an increase from them too.
No, because they would also contact us that, we
They have to register.
sign a tuition waiver, they have to sign off on the tuition. So no, that
But
those
that
numbers.
28 count is only,
Districts one and
doesn't
two.
reflect that. So we might have as many as 50 or,
No, I don't think so.
Is that mostly, I mean, what I'm just hearing in the community, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, I'm hearing like a lot more people enrolling in lower grades than in upper grades. Have you seen that spread at all, Rich?
It is.
Jackie was asking if she.
Is it mostly elementary? She's
Lower
asking,
grades.
is it mostly?
It spans across, Jackie. No.
It does? All right, because that's what I've been hearing at a lot of schools. I mean, just anecdotally in the community, that kids with, people with younger kids are looking at the elementary school.
In our particular case, absolutely not across the board. But
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
at school, I think it's just up to 6th grade.
Right.
Because we didn't have any types of verification of tuition releases. That they also have to register for us if they're in 7th through 12th grade, and we haven't gotten calls that way yet.
Yeah, and I think people are waiting, just like we are.
We are. Once again, Governor Cuomo, we're waiting.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not him. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah.
All right, and then, so that's all we've got, right? We're done? Good.
You have any public
Yeah.
comments, right?
Yeah, do you want to just, Matt, just check one more time? You got any phone in people?
We have nobody, JP. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.